דוקטור סוזן הנדלמן היא פרופסור לספרות אנגלית באוניברסיטת בר אילן בישראל.
Came time to write my dissertation. I was still a graduate student, and it was about 1976, 77, and I had two possible topics. So my friends in Crown Heights said, write to the Rebbe, he can give you some good advice. I said, well, I don't really want to bother him. They said, no, I'm sure the Rebbe would be happy to give you advice. I said, okay. I had two possible topics. One was on Shakespeare, and one was as a result of my studies in Crown Heights and in Chassidut on the relationship of rabbinic interpretation to literary theory. That is, this whole incredibly complicated, deep, fascinating ways that our rabbis interpreted Torah. How did that relate to all these new developments that were occurring in literary theory? So those are the two possibilities. So I presented them both, I wrote in a letter, and I like to tell the story, and I always like to ask people, what do you think the Rebbe advised me? Which topic to take? So some people will say, he must have told you to write on Shakespeare. I said, well, why? Because he wouldn't think that a woman should write on rabbinic subjects. Or that you shouldn't combine that with academic things. Other people say, oh, I'm sure he told you to write on the rabbinic interpretation. I say, why? They said, because the Rebbe believed very much that we should spread Judaism everywhere, and you should write on that and spread it and fulfill that mission. But you know what? It was neither. Very, very interesting advice he gave. He said, I got the answer back from the secretary, and I have the answer which I can show you later. In English, I'll translate it into English. He said, it depends on those who will examine her for the PhD, if they are opposed to religion or not, because there's a suspicion, there's a worry that they might disturb her, they might bother her work. This is very profound advice. It was extremely pragmatic, extremely faithful to my experience of the university, and it's advice that I give to my own graduate students when they say, what should I write my dissertation on? And I tell them the most important thing, of course, is that you write from a topic that is really meaningful to you. He didn't tell me which topic to write. And the second most important thing is that you have the right advisor, because the whole thing will depend on your relation to your advisor. So the Rebbe, who also had the deepest insights into Torah, who also could discuss the most deepest Kabbalistic mystical ideas, was also able to give me the most concrete, pragmatic, effective, practical advice that I could possibly get.